Curt Cignetti in Indiana football will have one of the best starting offensive lines in college football next season, but the depth at that position kind of has me worried.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day and the nation's #1 sports podcasting network. So thank you for making that so, and thank you for being here. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk some Indiana basketball, the latest bracketology, and somehow the Hoosiers didn't move up a seed line. I don't know how. I don't know why. We'll talk about it. And plus, who's the X factor for Indiana moving forward for head coach Darren DeVries? We previewed it on the live show. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more, but we start with football today. And I was kind of looking over Indiana's roster and starting to do some big-time positional breakdowns. And I think that Indiana could have another elite group of offensive linemen starting for the Hoosiers in 2026, right? You bring back several big guys, you go to the transfer portal, and there's a lot of dudes in that room that you can rely on. So I think the starting five, or at least four of your starting five, are going to be elite. But my concern is, what do you have behind them? You have some of the most experience in college football on the offensive line that will be starting for you. Guys like Carter Smith, Drew Evans. You go and get Joe Brunner, right, from the transfer portal from a Big Ten P4 school in Wisconsin. You have guys that you can start on the offensive line. Bray Lynch is another one, right? Guys that you have seen in action. You know they're good. They've graded out well. You have some of the nation's best. Carter Smith was the Big Ten's best offensive lineman last year. You're going to be fine. Right side of the line, you're kind of looking for one more spot, right? And I think it could be a Johnny who steps in there. So you've got a lot of leadership and you have a lot of experience as well. That's where I start today's conversation, because Drew Evans, redshirt senior. Bray Lynch, redshirt senior. Carter Smith, redshirt senior. Joe Brunner, that you bring in at the guard spot, redshirt senior. Straight down. You drop off after that. Sophomore and a bunch of freshmen on this team, which is a good problem to have for years down the road. My concern is that in 2026, if something goes wrong, if somebody gets hurt, God forbid, right? We don't want that to happen. But you do have to be prepared for that sort of a situation. Who steps in to those positions? And thankfully, I think Indiana has a good luxury of guys at the guard spot, tackle spot, and some guys who have played center as well. I know Sam Simpson, who will be a true freshman, has some center experience as well. Matt Merrick will also be, he's a redshirt, but he has some center experience too. You've just got to find, who your true starting five is and in what order. You know at least four of them, right, with either Bray Lynch or Drew Evans sliding over to the center position. I really don't know. Some people say Lynch, some people say Evans. I don't know. But whoever plays center, the other one will play guard alongside Joe Brunner, who will also play guard. Carter Smith is going to play left tackle, and then you're looking for a right tackle as well. And so you got to get that secured. You got to get your starting five set up. And once you do, again, I think it'll be elite. I think it will be one of the best units in the Big Ten. I think it will be one of the best units in college football, which we understand how important that is, right? What was the biggest difference from Indiana making the college football playoff in 2024 and Indiana winning the college football playoff in 2025? It was your interior guys. Your offensive line was the difference. You got bullied against Ohio State and Notre Dame 2 years ago. You bullied everybody this year on both sides, defensively and offensively, but it goes to show just how important that is. And it goes to show how important it is to recruit high school kids, recruit in the transfer portal, and retain your roster. And bringing somebody like Carter Smith back, just as an example, Man, words can't describe how important that is. So Indiana's in a good spot there. Then the drop off happens of experience, of guys who just haven't played a whole lot of football. Ajani's really the only one who's played significant snaps for Indiana as a youngster on this team. He had 11 games that he appeared in last year. He started in 4 games as well. So you feel good about where that is, but I expect him to be starting at right tackle unless something major changes. So you just don't really know what you have at the depth position. But the good news is you have the spring to figure it out. You have summer to work out and fall to finalize it. Because here's what's cool. And here's what one of the few things that I actually like about the college football calendar is your roster is set. There is no more leaving in the transfer portal. There's no more opting out after the spring and leaving to go somewhere else and join a new team in June. That's not a thing anymore. Now, I think the calendar can still be fixed. I think it should still be manipulated a little bit to be better overall, right? But with the system that we're in, you know what Indiana's roster looks like. And again, talking offensive line and specifics here today, there are no more changes. So you get to evaluate and analyze everything knowing that this is who it's going to be coming up in August as well. So Indiana will use the spring to figure out a lot of the depth pieces because you've got to have that, man. Even if nobody gets hurt, you still have to have bodies in there to take off some of the load of your starters, right? I look at guys like Evan Parker, Baylor Wilkin, Ben Novak, all these guys who are stepping in that Indiana has recruited over time. They're going to have to show you something. They're going to have to give you a little something, give you some juice, give you some energy, and develop as the days, weeks, and months go on for Indiana to rely on them. And then, of course, you'll use your early non-conference games to get those guys in there and kind of figure out what rotation you want to use and who you can rely on and call on when and if you need them. So Indiana starting 5 outside of Ajani, if he ends up sliding in there, at least 4 of your 5 will be some of the most elite experienced guys in the country. It's the drop off after that we simply don't know a whole lot about. And that is a little concerning for me until I see it. Right? I'm not discounting what Cignetti can do. I'm not discounting what the offensive staff can do. Okay. I just need to see it a little bit. And that's why I'm excited for the spring, to hear some of these things, see some of these things, and at least get a better idea of who can play up front outside of your starting 5 for Indiana football coming up in 2026. All right, we're going to flip to basketball here in just a moment because there's a new bracketology out from our buddy Joe Lunardi over at ESPN, and Indiana, in case you forgot, they're one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten, but yet they didn't move in his latest update. We talk about why and how I just disagree with it. That's coming up next here on Locked On Hoosiers. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping that the right person just stumbles across your job posting, Indeed's going to help you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listings to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If it were me, I'd want to make sure I'm finding the right people, the qualified people. I don't want to just put my job listing out there on the internet and hope that somebody finds it. I want to target the right people, the ones that are built for me, okay? And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute or so that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have already made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed's data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed-sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show right now, Locked On Hoosiers, will get $75 sponsored job credit to help you and your company get the job and the person that you're looking for. Get that premium status that it deserves, right? At Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way by using Indeed. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. It's one of my favorite times when it comes around every 4 years. The winter games are here. And if you're anything like me, you're locking in for the events that only you get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That's why I'm following it with the winter games on FanDuel. It just makes sense, right? From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. Hockey is one of my favorites. Snowboarding is one of my favorites. Bobsledding and luge and skeleton. Those guys and girls are insane, but they're so cool to watch. Even in figure skating, if that's your thing. Whatever sport it is, you need to be keeping up with it and maybe making some cash by using FanDuel, okay? The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you're listening on audio, follow us there. Turn on those notifications. I don't want you missing any extra shows that we do, including our daily shows, our live shows, our bonus shows as well. All of that. So turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode of the show. Let's flip to basketball for a little bit and talk about Indiana, who I think is one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten. No, we're not Michigan and just beating everybody like a drum, but the Hoosiers are playing pretty good basketball. The best basketball we've played all year. There's no doubt about that. There's no arguing that, as we've won 5 of our last 6 games, coming off of that 4-game losing streak against Nebraska, Michigan State, Iowa, and Michigan. Man, that middle stretch of January and those 10 or 11 days, that was brutal. It was brutal because we felt like, man, this team is what it is. This is who we're going to be. We can't shoot. We can't defend. We can't really do anything right. And yes, the schedule has gotten easier, but Indiana has gotten better too. And I think everybody who is watching this team and evaluating this team like I do, like you do on a daily basis, we are seeing it happen in front of our eyes. We're seeing this team grow and get better. And yeah, maybe it took some lesser opponents to build some of that confidence back, right? Some of the energy, some of the positivity back in this team to remind themselves, hey, we've got some dudes on the floor. We've got some dudes on our roster. Let's benefit. Let's use this. Let's be a better basketball team. And the win versus Purdue really accelerated that. And you've seen Indiana play some good basketball as of late. So again, winners in 5 of our last 6, 2 huge games coming up in the next week or so. At Illinois on Sunday, at Purdue on Friday. Those are both top 15 matchups as of right now. I think Indiana's playing pretty good basketball. But apparently Joe Lunardi at ESPN does not. Because Indiana, going into their last 2 games against Wisconsin and against Oregon, they were a 9 seed in his bracketology on ESPN, which again, you can use whichever one you want. But Indiana was a 9 seed going into those 2 games. The Hoosiers won both of those games. I don't care that they were at home. Wisconsin's a tournament team, and Indiana beat them and then just beat the crap out of Oregon. This was updated on Tuesday, by the way. Tuesday, February 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So both of those results were counted in his bracketology. All right, where 10 Big Ten teams are now in because Ohio State is considered the first team out. Other teams like UCLA and USC are on the bubble for the Big Ten. Ohio State's on the outside looking in, and some other teams. But Indiana was a 9 seed going into those 2 games. They went 2-0, and they remain as a 9 seed. Now, I think we moved up in terms of the 9 seeds, right? Because there's 4 of each seed line, 4 7s, 4 8s, and 4 9s. I think Indiana moved up on the 9 seed line, but we didn't actually move up a seed line. And I really thought we would. I really thought this team has proven, or had proven at this point, that we're good enough to be a 7 or an 8. Now, some people say, I don't care. It's mid-February. It doesn't matter. I just want to be good and be somewhere on March 15th when Selection Sunday rolls around. Totally agree. But what concerns me here is that there are folks on the national landscape, and maybe Indiana's performance against Oregon will help this. I don't know. And another big win would help this too. But I fear that people on the national landscape are not going to respect this Indiana team. And there's an argument for why they should, and there's an argument for why they shouldn't. But a win over Purdue is a pretty good start. Some big wins against UCLA and Wisconsin are a pretty good start. But as I said in our live show on Monday, and I'll say it again here today, Indiana still needs another big win. You've got 3 chances to do it. At Illinois on Sunday, at Purdue next Friday, and home versus Michigan State on Sunday, March 1st. Those are the last 3 teams that will be ranked on your schedule. I'm also looking at that road trip to Ohio State at the end of the season in the regular season finale. That could end up being a pretty monumental game for both teams if Indiana is still flirting with the bubble and Ohio State is still on the bubble as they are right now. But my point to all of this is I don't understand how Indiana didn't move up. I don't understand how the Hoosiers aren't getting more respect. And it is what it is. It's fine, right? His little analytics say that the Hoosiers' highest projected seed is a 6, which I think would be awesome for this team to be a 6 seed. I think we're more of a 7 or an 8, but 6 could be good if you get hot down the stretch. If you win the games you're supposed to, right? You beat Northwestern at home, Minnesota at home, and you got to take care of business against Ohio State on the road. I'm sorry, you got to do it. You do that and then win one of those 3 big ones, especially those being on the road. All 3 will be quad 1 games, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but you win one of those and the Hoosiers are just fine. Not only will you be a lock to make the NCAA tournament, you will be in a pretty favorable seed because right now he's got you playing Villanova as the 8, paired up with Duke as the number 1 seed. I don't really want to be paired up with a 1 seed in the second game of the tournament if we get there, to be quite honest with you. Doesn't get much better if you're a 7 seed. You got to play the 10 and then you got to play the 2, but Indiana wants nothing to do with Duke, UConn, Michigan, or Arizona right now. Nobody wants anything to do with those teams. They are the best in the country for a reason. The 2 seeds right now, Nebraska, I think Indiana can run with them. Iowa State, I don't know. Jury's still out for me. Houston, Illinois, guess we'll see on Sunday, won't we? So there's a big difference there. That 8-9 game historically is so iffy, right? It's so crazy because those teams are typically so close. But I think Indiana, A, is a tournament team, and B, I think we're better than a 9 seed. That's my point here. I think Indiana's better than a 9 seed. And I guess the jury's still out on if Indiana can beat quality opponents along the way. But you've got 3 more chances. And I'm telling you right now, Indiana needs to win one of these to secure a tournament spot and secure a pretty solid seed. Because here's what happens if you lose all 3 of those games against Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan State. You then have no room to screw up against Northwestern, Minnesota, and Ohio State. And even with how good Indiana's playing right now, if we look at the whole season, right, grand scheme of things, how confident are we in Indiana and this team in particular to not slip up, to not have a bad night, to not play good defense and let a team like Northwestern sneak up and get you? You already lost to Minnesota once, right? You got to play them again. And then you could very well be going to a desperate Ohio State team in Columbus who could get a win on their home floor and secure an NCAA tournament bid, right? Those are games where you want to win them and you probably need to, but you don't want the added stress and pressure of, man, we got to win these games to make the tournament. That's not where you want to be. And the team shouldn't think that way. We'll talk that way because it very well could be that way, but you can put all that to bed by beating one of these big teams coming up on your schedule. So I think Indiana's better than a 9 seed. People seem to disagree, and that's okay. Good news is Hoosiers have plenty of chances to prove people wrong. Hoosiers have plenty of chances to say, we're better than you think we are, and we're going to prove it on the court. So we'll see what happens with the Hoosiers, but they're going to need an X factor to do that, don't you think? They're going to need somebody to step up and take them to that next level if they want to pull off some of those upsets. We talk about who that could be and how it can impact the Hoosiers right after this.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukeledge and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
All right, final segment here on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers as we continue talking Indiana basketball. And with those big games coming up, the ones against ranked opponents, the quad one opportunities, the tournament resume building wins. Indiana's going to need their best players to play well. You need Lamar Wilkerson to do what he does. Drop 40 plus? I don't know. It'd be nice, right? He's a guy that can absolutely carry you individually in through the NCAA tournament or the Big Ten tournament or whatever the case may be. You're going to need Tucker DeVries to play well and continue playing complete basketball. I've seen enough to where I don't need Tucker DeVries thinking he needs to drop a 20-piece McNugget every night. I don't think he is at his best in this offense with that mentality, because I think it was that early. I think that's why you saw some woeful shooting numbers from him. You saw Indiana losing games because of that. Not him directly, maybe sometimes, but you get my point, right? I want Tucker DeVries to play team basketball. If the shot is there, take it. If the lane is open, accelerate, get there, and then make a play when you're there. So Indiana needs Lamar, you need Tucker, and then you need a conglomerate of other people. But every team that makes the NCAA tournament and wants to win a game or two in the NCAA tournament, they have an X factor. They have a dude who makes them go. They have a dude who steps up, and whether it's expected or unexpected, he plays at the highest level and makes a team different. And we brought this up late in the live show on Monday, and it sparked a kind of a conversation and a thought that I wanted to readdress here later in the week, because the initial thought was, easy, Tayton Conerway. Tayton Conerway is easily the X factor. He's a big guard. He can defend, he can shoot, he can score, he can pass, he can kind of do it all when he's healthy. But he hasn't been, right? He had the injury that's held him back. He's been sick. He didn't play very many minutes against Oregon, which you didn't need it, but you get my point. That has now shifted to several different players. There for a little bit, we thought it was Nick Dorm, right? A guy who was shooting, just in fuego from behind the arc. He was knocking down everything he shot from behind the three-point line. He has since cooled off a little bit, but that's because his volume has gone significantly down, or I guess gone down significantly, grammar, right? And so we thought, okay, maybe it's Nick Dorm, especially on the offensive end. He can help you out a little bit defensively because of his size and his length and his athleticism. But I think even now, that X factor term, an X factor role for Indiana basketball has quickly been handed to Sam Alexis. He's wearing that crown. He has that shirt. He's got that title now, if you will, because he's playing fantastic basketball. And we've seen sparks of this all season long, right? We saw it in the second game of we saw it in the first game of the year against Alabama A&M. He had 17. We saw it against Marquette, 13, 16, 14, 10. He had big games early on. That 10-point performance was against Louisville in a game that Indiana probably should have won. Actually, that was 10 against Minnesota. Apologies, 6 against Louisville. But then there was a month, basically, where he just didn't play all that much. He didn't play much. He didn't play well. He was averaging about 15 minutes a game. And then he turned it on. He had 13-8 against Iowa. He had 11-3 against Michigan. And then in the last two games, 19 points and 7 boards against Wisconsin, 16 points and 5 boards against Oregon. Have you looked at his shooting numbers lately? He's been one of the most efficient players in the country, Sam Alexis has. 8 for 8 against Oregon, 9 for 10 against Wisconsin, 4 for 4 at USC, 2 for 2 in UCLA, 1 for 1 against Purdue. He didn't play much and didn't have to, I guess. So he's missed one shot in the last 5 games, Sam Alexis has. The volume wasn't there for some of those. But even so, he's 17 for 18 in his last 2 games. Get that man the basketball. Get him the basketball and get out of the way. Would I like to see his rebounding numbers beat a little bit more? Sure. Would I like to see him become a good passer? He is a good passer. I'm saying, would I like to see him become a more aggressive passer? Absolutely. Because if he keeps playing the way he is, defenses will start to adjust. And with some of the giants you're about to play, like Illinois and Purdue, you're going to have to find ways to get him involved other than just teardrop floaters, turnaround bank shots like he was hitting against Oregon. He's going to have to find other ways to make an impact. Same way Tucker DeVries has done, Sam Alexis needs to do that too. But if he can play to his size and play true on both ends of the floor, Sam Alexis might be the guy that drives you and makes this team different in big-time moments. I still think Conerway can be that. I still think Nick Dorn can be that. But at least for right now, as we're midway through February, Sam Alexis is the dude that has to play well for Indiana to beat good teams. To take that next step, to be a tournament team, and to win a game in March, Sam Alexis is the guy for me that has to take you there. You still got to get performances from your best players, but I think Sam Alexis is really starting to turn it on, and I hope he continues that here down the home stretch. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers, man. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Always appreciate your support of this show. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel. You follow us on your audio podcasting platforms. I don't want you to miss any content we're putting out, okay? So do those things so you never miss a new episode or anything we do at Locked On Hoosiers, okay? We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.